Hello, welcome. My name is Amanda and this is Birch and Lily, my channel all about knitting and cross stitch. I alternate between knitting and cross stitch videos every week, and this week you have stumbled upon a knitting episode. Today is August 17th, 2020. I have a few things to show you guys this episode. I did have a little mishap in the kitchen and took a chunk out of one of my fingers. And then a couple days later, another mishap and another chunk. So my knitting was pretty slow the past couple weeks, but I did get some stuff done that I'm excited to show you guys. Before we jump into that though, I do have two little things to tell you. The first, if you haven't been here before or you're looking for my Instagram and stuff, there are two places that you can find me on the internet. The first is on Instagram at birch.and.lily. And the second is on Ravelry at Birch and Lily. And the other little piece of announcement info I have to tell you guys, the last knitting episode that I posted, I had a giveaway that I was doing, and I do have a winner to announce for that. So I was giving away this skein of yarn from Dragon Horde Yarn. This is the colorway Happy Hour on her 8515 Lore Base, as well as this beautiful set of stitch markers from the Crafting Treehouse. So, and a copy of one of my patterns of their choice as well. So, the winner of this is Amy Andrews. I will put your name down below as well. Amy, if you could contact me by email, please, and we will get everything figured out and squared out. But Amy Andrews, you are the winner of this prize. So now that that is all out of the way, I have one finished object to show you guys this episode. There were two pairs of socks last episode that I really wanted to finish. I got one of them done, so I will count that as a win, considering I was kind of not able to knit for a little while. So what I have finished is my pair of Fairy Maiden socks. This is a pattern by This Handmade Life. I am knitting, or did knit this out of Hello Stella yarn on their basic Stella base, which is an 80/20, and this colorway is called Summer Crush. So I cast on 64 stitches for these socks on a 2.25 millimeter needle, 1x1 twisted rib, slip stitch, heel flap and gusset, and a wedge toe, and they have this really beautiful pattern on them, which I did not know, but someone pointed out on Instagram, these look like little owls. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I have the pair finished. These will be going into my Christmas knits little box. These are going to be a gift for my mother-in-law. I don't think she watches, so she should not know. But these are going to be going to my mother-in-law for Christmas. And I'm really glad to have another Christmas gift done and out of the way. It's definitely taking some stress off of me, because usually I'm knitting really last minute for Christmas. But one more pair done for that box. So moving along into works in progress, I have another pair of socks that I'm working on for Christmas. I have these in one of my favorite bags from the Scrappy Thread. And I am knitting up the Fizalis Socks. These are a pattern by Elena Potemkina. They are from the 52 Weeks of Socks book that Lina magazine put out earlier this year. And I'm knitting them up out of Legacy Fiber Arts on their steel toes base, which is a 75/25. This is the colorway Sally. And then this was a sock set, and it also came with a Bear Cream Mini. So I finished one sock, so I'm pretty impressed with that. Here we go. This is a very intricate pattern, but it is so much fun to knit. So no ribbing, goes straight into the lace. There are wrapped stitches everywhere on this. This is a slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset, but it is all twisted stitches. And then the pattern continues on into the toe. So I'm going to flip these around on the blockers so you can kind of see the top of the sock. This always looks a little bit ridiculous, but you can see how the pattern kind of just fades into a twisted rib for the toe. It's really neat. I really think it looks cool. And again, like there's a wrapped stitch. And then there's some really big wrapped stitches as well. This is a new technique for me. Very easy. I didn't have a hard time at all, but this is the first time I've done something like that. I know what it is. My hibernating melon headband by Sari Nordlund has wrap stitches like that. I think they might be done slightly differently, but there's definitely wrap stitches on there. So yeah, I have the first sock complete and I have started the second sock. So I will go over some of the knitting stats while we're looking at this guy. 2.25 millimeter needles. I cast on 64 stitches for this pattern. 64 stitches is the smallest size it comes with, and then there's one other size, which I can't remember how many stitches it is. It looks ridiculous when you're knitting it up, like all lumpy and funny. But once it gets blocked, it'll be all fine, so I'm not concerned in the slightest. So yeah, I'm just working on the leg on this guy. Definitely have to be able to pay attention when I'm working on this, so this is more of an afternoon knitting project when I don't have TV on and I'm watching something with my husband. So Fizalis Socks, definitely making progress, and I'm pretty proud of that because those have been on the needles for quite a while. Okay, the next thing that I have been working on is a new cast on. If you've been watching my podcast, I don't even know if I should call this a podcast. No, we'll still call it a podcast. If you've been watching for a while, you would know that this summer I've been joining in Sari Nordlund's summer sock knit along. I have finished 3 pairs of those socks. I will grab them actually. So I have finished 3 of the socks. She released a pattern every month this summer. So the first pattern was the Poet Socks. Next was the Dolores Socks. And then the latest finish I had was the Floriste Socks. And the reason I show you these is because the final pair of socks in this knit along actually uses scraps. She suggested that you use the leftovers from all of these other socks, which is what I'm doing. So I have this project in a bag from Studio in the green, and like I said, I'm using the scraps from my past socks. These are all yarn from Hey Sister Yarn Co. They unfortunately are not dyeing yarn at the moment, but I have some in my stash that I really want to use up. So these are all named after different things in the Princess Bride movies. So this is the Brute Squad, the Fire Swamp, and Shrieking Eels. And I've got pretty far on these. I find all the color changing, while I'm gonna hate the ends when I have to weave them in, it's been making the socks go really fast. So here we are. I cast on 60 stitches for these socks. That is the only size that comes with the pattern. I did a 1x1 twisted rib. The pattern calls for a 1x1 rib, so not really that different. And I do have the heel in already. So I'm gonna pop these on a blocker. So this isn't the correct size blocker, but it's the only one I have around, so we will make it work. That's not too stretched out. Okay, so there we have it. It's so pretty. I love how it makes this little scalloped edge in between every single color. This is just a slip stitch heel flap and gusset, and I will work my way down until the toe. I'll probably end up doing the toe in whatever color comes next in my sequence, is what I'm thinking, because I don't want 2 colors to end up being too close together. We'll see what happens, but I'm really enjoying these. They knit up really fast. It is, I think, a 15 or 16 row repeat, so you have to have the pattern in front of you, but it's pretty easy. So, especially now that I'm only doing the pattern on the top of the foot, I'm not doing it all the way around on the leg. So these are my Venus socks, and I need to get these done by the end of the month so that I can enter all of my completed socks into the knit along. I think I can do it. Like I said, these are working up pretty fast. And one final thing that I've worked on the past couple weeks to show you guys, you definitely slow down when you have hurt fingers. And of course, the first one that I cut is the finger that I use to push my needle through the yarn. And then the other one that I cut is the one that my yarn runs over. So it was really hard to make things work, but I tried because I wanted to knit so bad. Anyways, my final project is in a bag by Birch Grove, and this cute little pin is from the Crafting Treehouse. I am knitting my husband's Christmas socks out of some yarn from Eat Knit Dye Yarns. This is assistant to the regional manager on her 75/25 base. So if you know The Office, this is Office themed. It's one of my husband's favorite shows, if not his favorite show, and he's really looking forward to getting this pair of socks. So I'm just knitting a simple vanilla sock. I have cast on 64 stitches. This is a 2x2 rib, and like I said, just plain stockinette knitting. These are my usual 2.25 millimeter needles. So I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to go for the leg. I should probably weigh this ball and kind of figure out. But he said to use up as much of the yarn as I possibly could, so that is my plan. I will be doing a heel flap and gusset. Those give him a little bit more room in the instep as opposed to a afterthought heel. It just doesn't give him enough room in his instep, and the socks kind of stretch across the top of the foot. So that is my plan. I have been terrible at putting progress keepers on my projects lately, so I apologize for that. I think last time I was about at this red stripe, so I've got a little bit done, not too much. But I will be working on these slowly. He has big feet. It will take time. I have one other pair of socks for someone with big feet to knit. My dad keeps teasing me that he would like a pair of socks. I didn't think he would, but he keeps saying it, so I'm going to knit him up a pair for Christmas. And he has size 10 feet, so not as big as my husband, but his feet are wider than my husband's, so I have a feeling they're going to end up being about the same amount of knitting by the time I'm done. So I haven't fully decided what yarn I'm going to use for those yet. Maybe another self-striping skein. I find self-striping makes those big socks go by quite a bit faster, so usually that is my go-to, but we shall see. So, short episode for you guys this week. Like I said, what can you do? But I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot, and it gets YouTube showing my videos to lots of other people and recommending them to other people who watch things like this on YouTube. As well, you can also ring the bell if you want to get notifications every time I post a new video. I alternate between knitting and cross stitch videos, and they all go up every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me down below in the comments, or you can email me. DMs aren't the greatest on Instagram as things seem to get a little lost in there, but I'm always happy to answer your questions in the comments or on my email. So yeah, that is all I have for you guys this episode. Thank you so much for coming and joining me once again. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.